You ever wake up to the sound of pounding on your front door, the kind that makes your heart jump into your throat before you're even out of bed? That was me. One gray morning at 6 a.m., standing in my kitchen in sweatpants, staring at two guys in police-looking uniforms yelling that I had 24 hours to get out of my own house or face arrest. For a second, I thought maybe I was dreaming, but then I caught sight of a familiar figure across the street. Our Homeowners Association president, Clarissa, standing there with her arms crossed and the nastiest smile you can imagine, like she was about to watch me break apart. And right in that instant, I realized this wasn't a nightmare. It was worse. It was real. My name's Richard Callahan, 64 years old, recently retired after 30 years as a claims investigator, and, lucky me, recently divorced too. I bought that little corner place on Willow Drive, thinking I'd finally have some peace and quiet. Instead, I walked straight into Clarissa's war zone. This woman had made it her mission to drive me out. She started with petty violation notices. My deck stain was not community approved. My garden gnomes were a safety hazard. Even the model numbers of my windows somehow out of compliance. That's when I knew something deeper was going on, because nobody should have known that kind of detail except the city planning office. And unless Clarissa was pulling night shifts down at City Hall, she had someone feeding her inside information. It would have been funny if it wasn't draining me dry. $800 here for a landscaper, $1,200 there for an engineer to certify work I'd already had inspected. The penalties stacked faster than my pension could cover. But I've spent my life sniffing out fraud, and I know what it looks like when someone's too precise. Clarissa wasn't acting like a nosy neighbor. She was running a play. And man, the neighborhood fell right in line with her. Folks I used to barbecue with started crossing the street to avoid me. Letters showed up in my mailbox signed by half the block, all repeating the same phrases about community values and property standards. You ever hear a kindergarten recital? Every kid mumbling the same line at once? That's what it sounded like, except this script was designed to crush me. The only person who didn't drink the Kool-Aid was my next-door neighbor, June. She's a middle school teacher, sharp eye for nonsense, and one night while we were both weeding, she leaned over and whispered, "Richard, this feels organized. I've seen bullying like this in training. This isn't random, it's deliberate." That little bit of solidarity kept me sane. Things escalated quick. My sprinklers started breaking mysteriously. My breaker tripped without cause. Even fence posts loosened overnight. Then one evening, while I was raking leaves, I overheard Clarissa on the phone. Her voice carried clear as day across her driveway. "We need acquisition completed before rezoning announcement. 6 months is the timeline." Acquisition. Rezoning. She wasn't talking like a neighbor. She was talking like a developer. So I did what I do best. I dug. Public planning documents, rezoning maps, market assessments. And there it was. My corner lot, the one I was barely hanging on to, was set to skyrocket from $300,000 to over $4 million once the commercial rezoning hit. For $1 million. And Clarissa wanted me gone before the news went public. That explained everything. The harassment, the fines, the community pressure. She and her so-called business partner, a slick guy named Thomas Bell, were running a scheme to grab undervalued homes before the city's vote. And I was their jackpot. Now here's where the story takes a twist. My son, Michael, who'd been helping me fix things on weekends, finally sat me down at the kitchen table, pulled a badge from his wallet, and said, "Dad, I need to come clean. I'm not just helping out around here. I'm building a case." Turns out my kid's a sheriff's deputy, and every photo, every note, every suspicious letter I'd saved, he'd been cataloging as evidence. I can't lie, I almost cried from relief. For months, I thought I was fighting alone, and here he was, secretly lining up the cavalry. Michael set up real surveillance gear, the kind with night vision and motion sensors, and we caught footage of a man in contractor clothes sneaking onto my property right when Mrs. Delgado, the sweet old lady across the street, took her daily walk. They'd been using her routine as cover. That broke my heart, manipulating a neighbor like that, but it also gave us hard proof. Then came a showdown. Leonard, one of the HOA board members, finally cracked under the pressure and told me what Clarissa was planning. She had hired actors to pose as police officers, complete with rented uniforms and fake warrants. The idea was to scare me into packing up immediately before I could fight back. Leonard confessed he went along because she promised him money, and honestly, he was out of work and desperate. I didn't even hate the guy. I just felt sorry for him. But the heads up gave Michael time to prepare. We rigged the house with cameras, looped in dispatch, and waited. Sure enough, the pounding started right at dawn. Those two fake cops shouted through my door like they owned the place, threatening arrest. I stayed quiet, recording everything, while Michael walked to the door in full uniform. The second he pulled it open and flashed his real badge, the look on those imposters' faces was priceless. Pure panic, like kids caught stealing candy. County Sheriff's Department, Michael barked. "Step back and identify yourselves." They froze, stuttering, trying to wave papers that looked official until Michael spotted the mistakes. Wrong seals, bad numbers, even a rental car outside dressed up with cheap lights. He called it out loud for the cameras. "These warrants are fabricated. These uniforms are rentals. You're under arrest for impersonating officers and attempted extortion." Clarissa was watching from her SUV, thinking she'd see me crumble. Instead, she watched her grand plan explode in real time. Her smirk drained into pure horror, and Thomas Bell peeled out so fast his tires screeched, leaving her to face the music alone. Neighbors came out, whispering, snapping photos, realizing they'd been pawns in her scheme. From there, the dominoes fell fast. With Leonard's testimony, Judy's notes, Michael's airtight evidence, and the fake cops caught red-handed, prosecutors had everything they needed. Fraud, conspiracy, harassment, the works. Clarissa lost her license. Thomas's development company went under. And for once, the little guy didn't just survive. He won. But here's the thing I keep coming back to. It wasn't just about my house, or even the money, though I'd be lying if I said $4 million didn't make my head spin. It was about being treated like a pawn, like my whole life could be bulldozed because someone else wanted a payday. That's the part that cuts deep, the arrogance of thinking regular people don't matter. So, yeah, we caught them, and justice had its day. But I still sit on my porch sometimes and wonder, what if Michael hadn't been a deputy? What if I didn't have decades of fraud instincts? What if I had just given up like they expected? How many folks out there lose their homes because they didn't get that lucky break? That's my story. A battle I didn't ask for, fought right on my front lawn, with neighbors on both sides and a smiley snake of an HOA president who thought she'd break me. In the end, she broke herself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen someone abuse their authority, or maybe hide behind fake rules to push people around? Do you think justice really balances out in cases like mine? Or was I just one of the lucky few who got to fight back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your own stories, and let's talk about where the line is between community order and pure manipulation. And if you think this kind of instant karma needs to be seen more often, hit that like button and subscribe, because trust me, I've got more tales where this one came from.